Hello and welcome to Respect the Crit. I'm your host and game master, Ian Duncan. My pronouns are he, him, anything you want. I am joined by some great people. Please help me welcome Jamie Lee-Bonés.
Hello, I am Jamie, she, her. I play Elo, they, them, the modified medical droid / mercenary soldier. Pew pew.
Jamie, we were talking about cults earlier. If you were the leader of a cult, what do you think your title would be?
My initial reaction is I always want to be called Dungeon Master because it's also like a little kinky, you know?
Yeah, it's a little kink. And I think it tells a lot about what your cult is, you know?
Yes.
You know?
It wouldn't be that type of cult, but yes.
There's a lot of leather and or dice rolling. And joining the cult of Respect the Crit right along with us, please welcome Alex Herrera.
Hello, I'm Alex, he, him. I play Beegax, Botano, Doug, Slicer, also he, him.
Same question, Alex. What would you want to be called as the leader of a cult?
Oh my god, that's a terrible and awful, scary question.
Isn't it?
I don't know.
We ask the terrible, awful, scary questions here.
Do it now.
In the intros of Respect the Crit.
Do it in the intro. I don't know. I feel like my cult would be one of mischief. I don't think it'd be like doing crazy shit. We would be doing crazy stuff, but not to each other. Like we'd be like putting those, those little like paint pouches, ink pouches they put on like money at the bank or like clothes. We would put that in like people's grocery bags and stuff. And then
this is a prank call.
Yeah, it's just a cult of pranks. So then I would like to be called probably like the Grand Jester or something like that.
Oh, I like that.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's got a little like ICP bent to it too, which I'm here for.
Yeah. I didn't think about that.
And the biggest juggalo of them all,
Ooh.
Susan Spenader.
You know,
Yeah, I see.
I'll cut off my finger for them.
How about that? Give me that Fago. Give me the Fago.
You can't see it, but she's got the face paint.
Oh, yeah.
Which you wear for every recording, which I love your
Just
commitment.
respect the crit, though, because I can't, you guys know the real me.
We embrace the juggalo here.
Dying.
Anywho, I'm Susan Spenader, she, her. I play Xelora Veo, she, her, the Twi'lek, pod racing smuggler.
Susan, what's your cult leader moniker?
Okay, so again, I have a little more time to mull this over, and I went into like how it would devolve into a cult. It'd have the very like good beginnings, like here's the idea. It'd be like we're all just humans, right? Like we all are just having a human experience. So but then that would become like stripping back people's individualities, and that's how it would become a cult. Like eventually the power would lead to that. So
Crazy,
then I would just so I would just be the human.
The human.
And then everyone is human. You would call everybody in communism comrade, but like we're all just human here, right?
Right. And then we all revert to some like amorphous gel being of one unified consciousness and being.
Yeah, like there would be no more individuality, so it'd just be like I make the calls.
Very end of Evangelion.
Yes. But it'd start off being like, let's just accept everyone as they are. But then it'd become, the dark.
I want to absorb you.
Yeah.
Become one with us.
Like every 1970s, 1960s like sci-fi horror movie.
Yeah.
No, our minds.
Well, we don't got any cults going on here, but we do have quite the encounter that we're building. So why don't we get into it? What do you say?
Let's go.
Hell yeah.
Mm-hmm.
A long time ago, in a galaxy far, far away. much how like we built some of the planets that we visited, we're going to be building this encounter together, collaboratively. Don't worry about like difficulty or like, you know, amount of enemy balance, like that kind of thing. I'll worry about that. Honestly, this is going to be as difficult or as easy as what you make of it, like how you want to play this encounter. And there are no wrong answers.
Just like designing the triumvirate. Designing
Yeah.
Criminal Mastermind.
A little bit. So I'm going to ask you some questions. You're going to each have a chance to answer, and this should all be about like building on top of other people's additions or building on top of other people's things, not negating or anything like that. So let me do this. I'm going to send you all a link in the chat. It's just to a whiteboard, because the first thing that we're going to do is draw a little map together. We're each going to draw something on this map. I'll go first. I'm just going to draw the train here. Jamie, why don't you go ahead and just like draw something on here? You could draw something, you could write something. It doesn't necessarily have to be a part of the landscape or anything. You could put like a concept in here if you wanted to. Just fill the map with something, you know?
Okay, well, this is a junkyard. I don't know why, but I kind of like the idea of there being like an oil slick.
Okay.
Oh.
Like a puddle of flammable liquid.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I like that. Some kind of leaking
Yeah,
oil,
maybe out of the
flammable.
train even.
Oh, sure. Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. Susan, go ahead and add something to this map.
So my first idea, and I know this isn't going to help us, but we could build this up later, guys. But my first idea was if they are a trained group, and not necessarily even trained, just maybe even slightly experienced, there would be some sort of long range, like a person who keeps watch from a distance. Down here would be a like sniper or someone with some sort of long range weapon.
Okay, this totally looks like a penis. Oh, I see.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm gonna fill it in so it doesn't look like a penis.
It's just because you made this headline here, this like line for the glands here.
The gland.
Nope, I'm gonna keep changing it.
Now it's just a
scribble.
now it's just a pubic
Now
bush.
it's a lot of pubes.
Yeah.
Yeah, a lot of pubes.
Pubic bushy.
Guy needs to
I'm
shave.
clearing it. I'm
Guy needs to
clearing it.
shave. You shave, it looks bigger.
Cool. Alex.
Since this is a train that is serviced by the city, I was imagining that the city's like, hey, we have a train out of service. Like, similar to what Susan said, like go investigate. But I think the train operate like whoever's in charge of maintaining the train, they don't do it themselves. They have droids. They have their own droids to go do it. Like I call them like kind of UAVs or like drones that go check out. So they're basically Barney on steroids. So I have like this idea of like observers, and they are assessing the damage. They are lightly equipped to deal with like environmental threats. So like maybe they have little shockers, they have little loader arms, like little clamps, or maybe even a small to mid caliber firearm or something on them that allows them to not get impeded by scavers in the past. So they have something about them has prevented scavers from taking them, but they also are highly effective at their job of, you know, surveying the crash site and sending back, hey, this needs to be fixed.
Gotcha. So they are armed, and they're basically like neutral to this conflict. Their interest is the train because, okay.
Yeah. How much is it worth? Is it worth to fix it now, later? What do we do?
Gotcha. Okay, so armed reclamation droids. I would like to, just the continuity thing, because Xelora had said that when they fell off the train, they were like down in a pit.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Oh, you know
like
what?
it was like a sudden drop.
Yeah, I thought it was like a hill. It was like a cliff of garbage, wasn't it?
Could we say that this is where the flammable stuff is pooling, like in this pit?
Yeah.
Okay.
And I was going to say, and we've got a Titanic situation.
Oh, yeah.
We don't have to do that. That makes it really hard. It's like slowly sinking into this.
I mean, we've all made it very hard already. So.
I know, right? It's pretty hard.
I thought about those
that-
droids.
They also have savrips, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm gonna draw like just a section of the train that sort of like sticks out of here in the pit, in the goop. Do we want to add any more pools of liquid leaking out anywhere? Because this could be a pit of it, but do we want to have like?
Yeah, we could just sort of like scatter them a little,
Okay.
like little one here, like a little one over here. I don't know. I'm just throwing circles everywhere. You can move them, I think.
Okay, cool. I like this. I think this is a good starting point. I want each of you to tell me something about the scrappers or something about the worthless that hasn't already been mentioned.
I like the idea. It might not work, but the idea that they
No wrong
need-
answers.
They need the resource to survive, right? I like to think that they've switched their power modes from, whatever fuel they're using. They're still using whatever like small parts of the power that they were using before, like a battery or whatever, crystal, whatever they're using before. They've also found a way to capture basically solar power. Like they find a way to supplement the loss or the inability to re-up their battery power. They found a way to use solar power to supplement the loss of battery or crystal power. And as such, that's why this train scrap is so important to them, because the trains over here, although magnetic, the mag rail trains or whatever, maglev trains, a lot of the components that make up the power sources or the drive source of this train are what's needed for them to create better enhanced solar capture panels or whatever.
I love it. And this is for the worthless or for the scrappers?
This is for the worthless. The worthless
Okay.
needs this, yeah. I mean, from what I remember, I like the idea of them during the day being very active, and at night they're running off of like they're running off the reserves that they've captured throughout the day.
Okay, yeah.
So one system turns off, another one kicks on for them.
I like it. That might even change like the time of day that this takes place or something. You know what I mean? Like in terms of like planning. That's very cool. Jamie, tell me something about the scrappers or the worthless.
Because they are the indigenous creatures of or Mentel, I'm thinking that they are going to be really great with like this terrain, and for some reason I picture them as having some sort of advantage on stealth, because it's just like that's like the vibe I'm getting from them.
Okay.
Is that I want them to be kind of roguey.
You want them to like know their terrain really well. They've been here for a long time.
Yes.
And so they're kind of roguelike, they're kind of stealth-like. They know how to like move in and out and not be seen amongst the garbage. Okay. Susan.
These spillages, they produce fumes. And it's very hard for humanoid creatures to approach because they are toxic. So I think each of these each of these spills have a toxicity that humanoids would not, like, it's a poison to them. So the scrappers know to avoid these, and that's how they are able to survive as well. But also the worthless can, and that's why they could go into these cargo.
Gotcha. Okay. So the worthless are immune to the toxic fumes that can be found in wreckage, like the train wreck here in the scraplands. And one of the things we established about the scrappers is they have crude cybernetics about them, but they are still, as you were saying, Susan, partially organic. So they still have like they still don't have this immunity to some of the toxic stuff. So even like getting to this is difficult for them, which is not something that the worthless have to worry about. Am I getting that correct?
Right.
Okay.
And then even that would even be a detriment to Beegax and I. Like,
I was just gonna say that's really cool because that cuts both ways a little bit, because it's like, okay, cool, yeah, I like that. So a thing we know about the worthless is they're immune to these toxic fumes, like 100% immune, and that includes all droids. So that would be LO as well. But any organic being, even if you're partially organic, they might be able to fare better in it, but they're still affected by it.
Yeah, like it might irritate their skin at just a base level. Like even if they have a better respiratory system.
I love it. I love that. That's very cool, and that makes this kind of an interesting balance here. I would like each of you to tell me something important that your character knows or has observed about the site of the wreckage, the train, the terrain, or the planet. It could even be planet-wide, big planet-wide kind of thing. We can go as macrocosmic or microcosmic as you want. So let's go, Jamie.
I like the idea of there being like sand dunes of trash, and maybe I am trying to think of what the bulldozer, and maybe some sort of like bulldozer type contraption that pushes it away from the city. So like the closer you get to the city, the higher and higher the piles of trash get, almost like a giant cone around the city of trash. Almost like the city is a crater amongst this landfill.
Okay, I like that. Okay, city is a crater. In order for you to like see the city, you'd have to get up on one of these dunes in order to like see it. And maybe even the settlement in which we are now is in one of these dips, you know?
Yeah, like you can't even see the city from here. Maybe you can only see the light pollution of the city, you know, in the sky. Like that's the only way we know where it is.
All right, Alex.
He knows that the scavers, some of them came out, if I remember correctly, they came out from under the trash or like from inside of some of the trash heaps.
The scrappers?
Maybe, yeah. They pop out of like little alcoves and stuff that was in the garbage. I would think maybe they have established a rudimentary tunnel network, but it's not tunnels through the ground. It's tunnels out of large chunks of trash. So like old ships that have been disassembled, they've managed to like reassemble some of the hulls into humanoid sized walkways that can stretch for, you know, however long they need, but it's only through the trash heaps. They can only do it through like the larger heaps of trash. It's like maybe, and then the ending, like their openings look very inconspicuous, like a dryer, you know, a drying machine opens up or a washer opens up, or like a car door opens up or a speeder door opens up or something. And behind that speeder door, inconspicuously hidden, is like, oh shit, that's a tunnel that can fit a person.
Got it. Okay. And is this like a single person through, like single file kind of person, or is this
probably like one regular sized person or two small humanoids? Like two chai-chais could fit side by side, but like anything like a dog would be the maximum for like squeezing another person next to him, whereas it'd be like a regular sized humanoid could fit through no problem. By itself, single file.
Cool. So I like that. So Beegax has observed them when they were like popping out, like clocked that, oh, there must be like tunnels or something that they're able to move through or hide in or something like that.
Yeah, definitely. And he notices that it's only in like the bigger piles of trash.
Got it. Okay, cool. Susan.
Xelora, having dealt with Bonnie before, would know this track or the end of this track. Like it probably has many stops, but the end of this track is known even to those that administrate Ord Mantell as the Black Sun track. Like the ending is the Black Sun compound. Like this is their track. Like anybody knows that anything that happens with this track or anything that doesn't happen with this track is due to the Black Sun.
They mostly use this for their transportation, their moving things, moving people, whatever it is. It's this line that they're using, and Bonastasi just fucking broke it.
Right. Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
Bonnie, you dumb son of a bitch.
Bonnie, baby.
It makes sense. It makes sense that that's why he did it the last thing, because he was like
Yeah.
trying to hurt us, and then he's like, "Fuck this."
He was like,
Yeah.
fuck it, and made a huge sacrifice to just try and get him out of the way, huh?
Yeah.
All right, I like that. Yeah, so yeah, the end of the track is known to be the Black Sun hideout, which is kind of like where Bonnie Sazi invited you. And they use the Black Sun mainly use this track, and they use it to ferry whatever it is that they're doing, including, you know, their numbers in and out of Wolport. And Bonastasi just broke it. Good job. I would like you to tell me one complication that your character understands that may not be immediately perceptible to everybody else. And again, this could be about the terrain that we see that we're looking at on the map, or the train, or it could be about something that's an exterior factor outside of all of this. But it's something that your character understands that isn't immediately perceptible to everyone else. So what would LO know as a complication going into this?
I guess my immediate and tell me if this isn't what you're looking for, but my immediate thing is
No wrong answers.
I think Elo realizes that the Scrappers are the indigenous group and that we are the invading group. Like, the Worthless have been put here by other people and have been forced to create this encampment, but the Scrappers have also been put in that predicament, much like Xelora had said. Like, they are both being forced to be each other's enemy
I see. Gotcha.
because of the minimal amount of resources out here. Like, they have to fight against each other.
I like that. Could we actionize that and say maybe LO has, because of this information, LO has some reservations about maybe like harming or killing, or I don't know what it could be. Now I'm just throwing stuff out there about the Scrappers. Is that?
Yeah, I think Elo is definitely going into this with more of a defensive mindset than an attack.
Oh, I like,
you know, if
that.
they have children with them, obviously I'm not going to, you know, attack because we have a child with us. Like, we are all victim of circumstance out in the Scraplands.
Okay, gotcha. So yeah, I like that. So LO, what it may not be immediately perceptible to everyone is LO has these reservations and wants to have more of a defensive approach rather than an extermination approach. Mm-hmm. That's going to be fun for you to play with when we do this.
We'll see how it turns out.
yeah, that could be really, really interesting. Alex.
Well, he knows that the trash area is different. That the environment, the ecosystem is different in the trash and the scraplands than it is in the cities, because the cities are manicured, protected, and I'm assuming they have some sort of Star Wars tech that allows for the weather around the cities, and wherever they have like their growth, their farms or whatever production plants, is very well maintained. So knowing and growing up on Malastare, he knows that, like, oh, if your ecosystem is trash, the weather and the planet will be trash. So he knows that this type of environment brings acid rains every so often, which is not good for anyone. Acid rain hurts droids and organics equally because it doesn't care. It's just hazardous, acidic, destructive rain that happens. I don't know, whatever the wind decides.
Oh, that's cool. So that's something that we could turn into like like a roll at the end of each round kind of thing, complication. Like, is there a possibility that acid rain shows up or something like that? I like that. And that could hurt. That could be a complication for everyone.
I'm gonna draw a little cloud, acid rain.
Oh, yeah, perfect. Susan.
So I'm going to ask for all of you to weigh in on this one, because I have the idea of what could cause the complication, but not necessarily what the complication could be. So Xelora is a well-known figure now, the winner of the pod race, and there should be some sort of manifest that she got on this train and maybe some sort of news that this train derailed. And now I'm not, like, my idea was pulling towards maybe her employer finding out that she was on the train, or...
I have a suggestion, because there's definitely one person who knows you were on that train. And he was after some bounties.
Okay.
What do we think? Possibility that the Black Hand could show up to add some complication.
I would guess they sent somebody, right? Like, to come check it out. Like, hey,
Make
no
sure
resistance
she's
out
dead.
there. Yeah, there shouldn't be any resistance. If she's dead, you'll see the wreck. You'll find her body. At the worst, you'll run into, like, because I don't think, does the Black Sun know what lives out here?
Oh yeah, the Black Sun's aware of the scraplands.
Oh, okay. Maybe they do send. They probably send somebody who's capable. Then they wouldn't just send some Joe Schmo.
It could be a Joe Schmo. I mean,
Ooh, hopefully. Can I roll for Joe Schmo?
you want to roll a Schmo? Is that what you said?
No.
Susan, does that sound like something is like someone is looking for you, because certainly someone knows that you're out here, but that someone might not be who you want to be found by.
Right. That sounds good to me.
Okay, cool. So the Black Hand could show up again. I'm sorry, the Black Sun.
Black Hand.
We
What
know.
game are you playing right now?
I hope not.
Next, we've only got a few other questions I'm going to ask you, but I'm loving this so far. This is turning out really great. Tell me something that has yet to be discovered. And we'll start with Jamie.
Much like the movie Titan AE, there's a ship in here, like a long lost ancient ship somewhere in this wreckage. That maybe is like legends about
An old separatist ship.
Yeah, something deep within these heaps and mounds, and everybody is like, oh, the scraplands on Ord Mantell. There's talk of this ship that's somewhere amongst all the piles.
Ebon Hawk?
Ebon Hawk.
Sorry.
The Ebon Hawk. It could be the Ebon Hawk.
Just living out my 13-year-old playing Kotar dreams. Don't mind me.
Okay, so there's an old ship, the stuff of legends, that's ended up here in the scraplands.
Somewhere. No one knows. People have looked, but no one's found it.
And it could be the Ebon Hawk. No way.
I'm sorry.
Cool. Alex.
I'd like to think that the scrappers, we haven't seen their leader. We don't know what their leader looks like. So their leader is some sort of like amalgamation, right? It's like poor cybernetic mix.
Yeah, it's like
humanoid.
DIY junk cybernetics.
Let's say that their leader is a disgraced Sith or something, some equivalent of a disgraced Sith who like eventually cyberfied himself, and he's like, didn't make whatever his master wanted, didn't complete it, but did manage to kill his master, so he technically passed the Sith rule of two, but doesn't agree with the ideology, found this, somehow managed to live as long as he have because of the cybernetics, and is the leader of one of, let's say, this particular band of scrappers is their leader.
Okay.
So he's like a Sith Padawan or a Sith
an apprentice. Apprentice.
He technically passed the rule of two because he killed his master, but
left shortly after.
Yeah, didn't really do much else afterwards, and was so disfigured and like just wrecked from that fight that he cybernetic fight himself, found the natives here, people who would follow him. Basically the opposite of what happened in Book of Boba Fett, where Boba Fett got honor with the Tusken Raiders and was welcomed in. This one was more of like, he did the things to himself to survive, found them, and said to them, I can make you better. And that's how we have the scrappers of today.
It's giving Darth Maul being found from the Clone Wars. It's giving the Jedi Fallen Order, the guy who's like with the Zabraks on Dathomir. Yeah. Okay, that's cool. That's a Force user. That's gonna be interesting.
That's a choice you just made, Alex.
Yeah, I know.
Against us.
Well, then make a good one. Make a happy one. Susan. Make
I
a
got
positive
this.
one.
Don't even worry.
But I like that. I think that's really cool. That's a cool idea. All right, Susan. Yeah, what's something that's this is the thing that's left to be discovered is the leader of the Scrappers. The leader of the Scrappers happens to have been a Sith apprentice at one point, but now organizes the native life forms here. Cool. Susan.
So, as the party moves closer to the train, it becomes known, not necessarily to Xelora, but maybe Elo and Beegax, and even Gur, that as you move closer, there's a comm tower that they can connect to the rest of our party.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, on the way. You can connect to the way the closer we get to the tracks.
Okay, got it. Some kind of comm tower, some way to
connect to the way. Right? Like if we're like completely overpowered, you call verse and then the way shows up and we're flown away.
There's that one audio clip of the woman on Fox News. My solution: airstrikes. Bomb them. Bomb them. I don't even know what she's talking about, but whatever it is, I don't think that's the solution.
It's not. No.
I just like that audio clip. My solution, and she just changed her tone. Airstrikes. Bomb them. Bomb them.
Oh my God.
All right, chill out. What the fuck? Are we talking about the green M&M again? What the fuck?
Oh, jeez.
When I get horny for green M&Ms, I can't handle it. So just bomb it, kill it.
Bomb them.
That was our last question. Now we're going to do a few rolls. The first being, tell me what... So you're resting in the fiction that we've created. You're resting, but I would like to know what else your character is doing to prepare for this conflict. It could be anything, absolutely anything. But I'm gonna have you roll to see the effectiveness of it. So, sort of like a skill check for your preparation in this thing. So let's switch this up a little bit. Let's start with Susan. What is Xelora doing to prepare for this conflict?
So, a side that's kind of been touched on, but neither Elo and Beegax would be familiar with, because all they have seen in person is Xelora partying or fighting. I guess that's all they've seen of her. They weren't with her in her ship, so they wouldn't see this. There's the discipline side is going to come out, and she's going to be meditating.
Gotcha. Okay, so trying to find a center, like
with her Vira blade, like she is going to gently place it on both of her knees and put her hands in front of herself and start breathing rhythmically. So
yeah. So let's see how we can make that actionable.
Maybe she gets blue on her melee attacks for the encounter.
I like that. I like that. Yeah. Let's have that. Yeah. Blue. We'll add a blue die if you are centering yourself for this. You can add a blue die for attacks, and if this is a failure, we'll add a black die to it. Oh boy.
Okay.
Let's call this a hard check, a discipline check. It is 3 purple die. You also have 2 light side points.
Can I use one, guys?
Yeah, do it. Of course.
1 threat, 2 failures.
Oh, shit.
Oh.
Oh, no.
For those who think that I only roll good, there you go.
That means all your melee attacks are going to have.
So I'm not very centered.
That's tough.
Just don't use melee. Just shoot.
It's hard to get centered and meditative when there's this stench in the air of all this garbage.
All the garbage and the droids, whatever power source, like their fuel cells are just constantly going off. Like they're reattaching those solar panels to themselves. Like,
they just don't realize how much noise they're making because they have their like sensors down. Or
they
sorry, I had you muted.
They turn them off. They have everyone on Discord set to like 20%.
I think, Susan, if you'll let me paint a picture a little bit.
Go ahead.
I think maybe what happens is, Xelora like goes into this and all this noise and clatter and droids are all around and it's like clang and there's like a flash, and we can kind of see her trying to like just kind of like power through this noise, clang, and then those sounds, those like bursts of interrupted sound start to become like the sounds of vibroswords hitting, and we just see them hitting, and we're seeing them in this room, and Xelora can hear someone just saying again, and clang, boom, again, and we just see like an older Twi'lek, the lines of age in her face, dressed in something that is like practice, garb, and sparring with Xelora, and just wiping the floor with her with vibroblades again, and you can just hear the sound of your grandmother's voice, like cutting you down about your failures in this.
Can I just add one more thing for the aggravation? Because Xelora doesn't feel aggravation towards her grandmother. It's the again, and then it cuts to another Twi'lek, a blue Twi'lek, taller, it has a upright posture, and she flicks one of her Leku over her shoulder. It cuts to the again, and then
you were never as good as me anyway.
And then walks out the door. And that's her sister, Helena.
Oh, what a... I'm not going to say it. I'm not going to say the B word.
So these troubling thoughts are getting in the way of Xelora's meditation, of her centering. And so I'm going to say, you are going to have a black die on anything that has to do with the vibroblade.
Oh, anything. Wow. So if you try to use it to save someone or like non-combat. Oh, wow.
Yeah, anything that has
and
to do
that's
with
her
vibroblade.
best, attacking, whatever.
We'll be fine. It's not like we're playing against a Sith or anything.
Where, melee is needed.
Only if we meet him.
Alex, would you tell me what Beegax is doing to prepare?
Yeah, I think he was gonna meditate, and then he's like walking through the camp, and he sees the spot he picked out earlier, and he sees Xelora meditating there. So there's that awkward like. So he just like, and I don't think she notices him there. He just goes, Griff, like all kind of awkward, like, what do I do now? So he sees like these little, I would call them like hodgepodge pit droids, but they're not exactly pit droids. They're just like the same size. They're fully kind of anatomically like a humanoid, but tiny. And they're trying to like stack these depleted energy canisters. And he'll go over to them and say like, let me help you guys out. And he tries grabbing one, and it's like hot because it's depleted. And he goes, and they're just staring at him. And so he's gonna spend his time practicing the force lift, his force powers, by helping them move the containers into their desired location, the depleted canisters.
Okay, all right. So you're trying to like hone your force abilities, right?
Mm-hmm.
A little bit. Oh, you know what? I'll let you roll the force die if you wanna do something with that. If you want to, let's say this. I'll let you roll the force die. And if you use the force, whether it be the light side or the dark side, it will, let's say it'll reduce the difficulty of of this check. How about that?
That sounds good.
Okay, roll me the force die.
1 dark side.
Oh. Dun 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 dun.
Yeah.
Now
Dun, dun,
you can
dun.
use this if you want. If you want to tap into
Oh yeah, of course.
that hate and that fear.
Yeah,
All right.
that's what it does. I mean, it's been, you know what? I feel like it's been going, the pendulum has been swinging both ways every time.
It does feel
okay.
quite even.
So that is you're gonna have to flip a light side to a dark side to do that. So all dark side now. It's all dark side points.
Oh gosh.
And you've got 1 point of morality. Let me just make a note for that.
Yeah, so I gotta roll that next game.
I want you to make this roll. We'll call it a reduced difficulty. So call it an average check. I'm gonna flip a dark side though and give you turn 1 into a red. Yeah.
And I can't flip any light side points.
No, you can't.
Then I'll flip 1 and turn 1 of my greens into yellow.
Okay.
Do it.
So just to keep it even, because it wasn't.
Yeah.
I don't want it to be uneven here.
All right. So this is a discipline roll. Average, upgraded average. Go ahead and roll.
1 success, 2 advantage.
Oh,
Yay!
nice roll. So I think what this is, unless there's something else that you want to do with this, for this encounter, you're able to move something at silhouette 1 and 0.
Oh, it cost me tapping into the dark side to break the rule, basically.
It did. It did.
Oh.
So we'll call that a success at a cost. A success at a cost, really.
Mm-hmm.
And you can use your force ability to move things like humanoids, basically.
Yeah.
What's that? What is that dark side emotion that Beegax is tapping into for that? Like, as he's like moving these things, is he like failing and getting angry and then like slamming them into place, or how do you envision that?
So I think it starts off with him trying to tap into the emotions when he first got into camp, when the first morality rule came into play, where he was like, I'm doing this to defend people, to defend those who are defenseless. And as has that same mindset and he's moving things, it's coming to him very easily to move not little, but the substantially sized energy canisters. Probably like they're the size of like a big Tupperware container, right? But it's heavier and it's hot. It's the depleted energy cores in there, and he's moving them. And as he's doing, he gets probably the 4th or 5th one, and he starts getting these flashes of the bombing raid that he could see on the screen of the old men, the old racist Doug Hall, and how they were like, he just saw on the screen what happened and wasn't there. But now, as the flashes are occurring, he hears their screams, their cries, the charred remnants of them in the building. And as that's happening, he's becoming more and more aggressive with the motions. Like the canisters they're getting stacked, but they're not getting stacked quickly and not flush with each other. So they start kind of wobbling, and the little droids are kind of like moving to push him together, and he doesn't pay attention. He's just going into the motions now without paying attention. Another one and another one, and then he starts moving things that aren't supposed to be moved.
Oh,
Like-
yeah. I feel like maybe you like fling one of the droids or something.
Yeah, move him I move him one of them was like, wow, just like flies.
Yeah.
And he goes, and then he aims at something that's like attached to the ground, like maybe a utility pole of some kind that's partially in use. There are like other things built off of it, in the hodgepodge and kind of junk architecture that's here. And without even thinking about it, you can see the dilation of his eyes change, the yellow seeping into his iris as he begins pulling this thing out of the ground, and maybe some of the droids come up to him and like, no, like trying to get him to stop, and he doesn't pay attention, and it just yanks this pole out of the ground, and it's hovering slowly in the air, and then he realizes what happens, and it falls, although back into its original space, like tilted. Just
Oh, yeah. And Gur walks by and he's like, I guess we're not keeping that a secret anymore, are we?
oh, I have and he clenches his fist. I was just trying to help. I may have gotten carried away.
And you see Gur, like, he clocks this, like, aggression, and he kind of, like, his ears go back a little bit, and he just like puts up his hand and he's like, okay, buddy, okay, all right, just checking in.
No, I'm fine. I just and he shakes it out a little bit. I gotta be careful sometimes when I do it. Maybe it's me, but it pulls things out. Not from my mind, almost as if it's pulling things out of my heart. And like he catches himself when he says this. Oh, that's stupid. That doesn't make sense. He'll look at Gur. I don't think these droids are gonna rat me out for helping him.
Yeah, I think you need to get some rest. That's all. That's all I was trying to say.
Yeah, you're right. And he looks down at his body again, just like still the wound is still there. He's like,
Hello. What are you doing to prepare for this conflict?
I think LO, true to their nature, would probably be preparing the other droids, both to make sure that they are physically able for what's ahead. Because I feel like I remember you saying that they weren't, all of them aren't like fighter droids, you know, a lot of them are utilitarian. So maybe showing them like, oh, this is what is called a trigger. And the pointy end is on this side. You know, that's sort of like rudimentary instruction to some of the droids that they've fixed up to be able to join in.
We could do this two ways. We could call this a leadership role.
oh.
Mm-hmm.
Where LO is, you know, basically doing training, or we could call this a computer's role where they are basically downloading the information into these droids, like
Sick.
an experience of what they've gone through. So I'll leave it up to you, because I think that that's an interesting way that you can do this with a bunch of droids.
One of the options means they all have to stick their finger in LO.
No, LO does the fingering. LO does the fingering.
Fingers all of them, yeah.
Damn right. Anyway. So I wish I was better with statistics, but I've got 3 green in computers and 1 yellow and a green in leadership. And when I was pitching this, I initially thought leadership, but I kind of like the idea of the download.
Statistically, you have more chances of success with 3 green than you do with 1 yellow, but with 1 yellow you do have the chance 1 in 12 of a triumph. So that's the trade-off. Yeah.
Yeah, it's calling to me. I think I'm gonna go with leadership because we haven't had a triumph yet. It would be nice, and if I say it enough, it'll happen. It's called manifesting. Oh, you said it was a hard check?
Yeah, I think let's call it a hard leadership check. If you can make an argument for it, I'll give you a blue die, but it's got to be good. What's the scene here? How is LO like talking to these droids and showing them all this stuff? What's the speech? What's the
okay? LO's
this is
got
our 4th of July Independence Day. This is our Independence Day.
We shall not go quietly into that night.
Yeah.
You scruffy looking nerf herders.
Okay. Well, LO's got these droids sort of lined up with whatever makeshift weapons that they have, and is going to first start explaining, because they were not initially a mercenary soldier. They were a medical droid. And LO is going to start saying, I understand that for some of you, this may go against the very fiber of your being. But in order to keep your survival, we must go over some basic combat readiness. And they're going to take out their pistol.
Gotcha, yeah. And you see a bunch of the droids like take out their pistol. There is like a gonk droid that's basically just a trash can with legs that has no arms, and it has like a speak and spell taped to it, and it's basically like,
I have no arms. How do I do this?
Walking trash can. How can we do this?
I mean, you could always do suicide bomber. There's no shame in sacrificing your life for the honor.
That's true. I don't know if Ella would sell that.
You could tape a blaster to me. Or maybe a knife.
You can put a bomb in my mouth.
You just tape like a buzzsaw. Like, for now, how about you just try to soak in the information and we will figure out a weapon for you.
Yes, I like that.
It be a spear or some sort of blaster.
Point me at them.
Roll me a hard leadership roll and throw in a blue die for your persuasive speech.
Oh! I want to show it to you because it's so unbelievable. It's 1 success, but 4 threats.
Oh, shit.
Oh,
You train
dang.
them. You bypass their core programming. They can. They will do harm now. They will always do harm.
Cannot compute.
All I feel is rage.
But it is still a success.
It
So
is a
like they
success.
do learn something.
Yeah. No,
They
you're-
learn what the pointy end is.
They exactly so. Yes, thank you. All of the droids that you have assembled here, they catch on fairly quickly. It's pretty easy because these are droids and they compute information differently than organic beings. You successfully have like conscripted every single droid that can possibly be here into this scenario. There's one thing left that we have to do, and that is I want each of you to roll a D100.
Oh, sugar plum fairy.
And this is
I
going to
don't have
be
that
just
here.
like a random thing just to like throw in some spice. So who wants to roll first? Susan raised her hand. So
Because I rolled a test roll and we gotta keep it.
what
This is
was
69.
Yeah, it is 69.
I felt it. I was like, somebody's going to get 69.
it? Nice.
I
All that
rolled
can
a
be
69.
said is nice.
It was a test roll, I promise.
You're going to love this. And this ties in real nice to something that we've already got cooking, which I had not planned for. But Sith cultists summoning a dark force.
Oh, no.
shit. Now we're definitely.
We're going to meet him. We're meeting
Now we're
him.
definitely meeting him.
Or her.
So,
Did you say
or
him?
her.
Him.
Them.
I don't remember.
Whatever. It's dealer's choice.
TBD.
It's-
TBD.
Yeah, TBD.
TBD.
Should be a guy though, because we already fought one girl Sith, and she was really mean.
Do
She tried to drown
do-
us. It's pretty fucked
do
up.
we know the race of the scrappers? Like the indigenous race to this planet?
4 parts would tell you that their physiology is changed because they have like cybernetically enhanced themselves, and although they've had a chance to like do an autopsy on 1 or 2 of them, it's not like none of these droids are like real medical droids. They don't have the specialization. It's hard to like discern exactly like what's similar and what's different. They know that they're humanoid. They also know that whatever they looked like before this planet was colonized, like they are so completely different from what they originally were, and it's kind of lost to time like what the originality of their species was. Now they are the scrappers, almost something entirely different. Yeah. Alex, roll me next.
50 flat. It's gonna be like, you are incapacitated for the start of the match.
You turned 12 years old.
You turn 12 years old. No, please.
And your name is Incognito.
No, I did this already.
Actually, I kind of like this too. And it's a little bit different than we talked about, but it does still tie into what we have. This is a Durastar ship captain with information on trade routes.
Oh.
I think there's still a way to like work that in, especially with the ship that has yet to be discovered.
Ooh.
The Ebon Hawk.
Yeah.
Yeah, Ebon Hawk.
So I like that. I like that. There is some cool stuff. A Duros, and Duros are the sort of like big blue headed Duros, red eyes. Duros is Bonastasi.
Bonastasi.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I'm imposing my ideal narrative on this. Like,
No, there's
Ebon
no
Hawk and
there's no wrong answers. Yeah, this is what we got to play with. Jamie, please roll me a D100.
I got 15.
Sandworms.
It would kind of fit.
This is interesting. Geothermal vents.
Oh.
With sandworms.
The sandworm covered in geothermal vents.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah, maybe not as flashy as Sith cultists summoning a
Right?
dark force, but still cool. Geothermal vents. That's interesting.
That could add
something
to
they
the
can say was-
fumes. It can make those fumes worse.
Oh, yeah.
True.
Cool. So we've come to the end of it. This is our encounter, and this is what we're going to do the next time we sit down. We are going to play this encounter. Will there be combat? Probably. Will there be Sith lords? Definitely. Will there be things that have yet to be discovered? Absolutely. But this is the blueprint for what we'll be doing next. So,
I love it.
Yeah.
That's going to be a wild encounter.
It is going to be a wild
Yeah,
encounter.
it's gonna be crazy.
Holy crap.
Oh
And
my
again,
God.
like, I've not done this before, so this is new territory for me as well. But I don't know. I think I'm pretty happy with it.
Scared.
I'm a
Yeah.
little scared too.
Nervous.
Thank you for listening to this week's episode of Respect the Crits, Empire's Edge. If you like what you heard, please consider supporting us by leaving us a 5-star rating and review on Apple Podcasts, or whatever platform you use to listen. It's easy, free, helps others learn about the show, and we love reading your feedback. For more information about the show, visit @RespectTheCrit on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok, or come chat with us in our official Discord. Beegax is played by Alex Herrera, who you can find on Twitter @AE Herrera or on his Twitch channel, WadeWolf10. LO is played by Jamie Lee-Bonés, who you can find on Instagram and TikTok @JamieMFBones. Xelora is played by Susan Spenader, who you can find on Instagram @SuzLalouz. I'm Ian Duncan, your host and GM, and you can find me on Twitter and Instagram @idunks. The music in this episode is provided with license or permission by a variety of talented artists, whose info and credits can be found in the episode notes. Please support them by visiting their platforms to hear more of their work. The Star Wars role-playing system is published by Fantasy Flight Games. And remember, whatever the system, whether it's a miss or a hit, you always gotta respect the crit. Thank you very much, and may the Force be with you. Okay, yeah, they know how to move in the terrain, much like the Fremen of the planet Arrakis, popularly known as Dune.
Who is Arrakis led by in this lore? Is it Muad'Dib?
Yes,
Muad'Dib.
Paul Atreides, Muad'Dib, the Kwisatz Haderach.
Get out of here.
Of
Get out of here.
Bene Gesserit. Yeah.